Yes, lads, what is going on? And welcome to Season 4, Episode 8 of The Running Irishman. In this episode, we are joined by Cathal O'Reilly. Cathal recently was part of the Irish Under-20 team who came second as a team in the European Cross Country Championships here in Abbottstown in Dublin. Funny enough, that was actually Kyle's very first time representing Ireland. So what a way to kick off your international career as such. Kyle is also the under-19 3K national champion with a time of 8 minutes 36 seconds, and that's his PB to this day. Kyle also is a steeplechase man that we do touch on in this episode about how he got into it and a lot more. He came second this year in the under-19 steeplechase national championships, and also he finished third in under-19's 1500 meter national championships. To actually get into represent Ireland for the European Championships, he finished sixth in the national championships. In the national championships in Santry. He was then a reserve and then got a call to tell him to mention that he will be actually able to represent Ireland due to another athlete having to step out with an injury. So a lot to talk about in this episode. Kyle's also a really sound lad, and I did enjoy having a conversation with him. As you can see, and obviously as you can hear, if you're listening to podcasts, again, got the new microphone, have it pretty much set up perfectly. Sometimes it can be a little bit loud, but I think it's pretty much perfect and good to go. So the sound quality has been improved drastically. So, without further ado, we'll get into this episode with Cathal O'Reilly. Yes, lad, what is going on?
My name is Amy O'Donoghue.
People call me Dr. Josh.
My name's Lewis O'Loughlin.
My name is Otto Donald.
I'm Charlie O'Donovan.
I'm Abdul Jill.
I'm Scott Fagan.
I'm Mark Conrad.
My name's Cormac Dalton.
I'm Paul Byrne.
I'm Michael Morgan.
More than a runner.
The Irish Hammer.
My name's Brennan.
I'm Brian Fay.
It's Dash Bar.
I am a triathlete.
Craig Engels.
Cheryl Nolan, Sean Donoghue, John Rankin.
We got 10th at the World Championships in 2019 in Doha.
I'm doing great, just happy to be on the podcast.
I'm a Man United fan.
Let's get into this episode of the podcast. Alright, lads, so we're here with Cathal O'Reilly. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's been on the cards now for a few weeks, pretty much since the European Championships. Kind of stuff happened and it kind of didn't. The time didn't, come around for the episode to happen, but it's glad to have you on now, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, if for the people out there that aren't sure who you are and what you're all about, do you want to just give a quick introduction?
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name's Cathal O'Reilly. I'm from Castlecomer in Kilkenny. I run for Kilkenny City Harriers. I'm 18. I go to DCU.
Deadly, yes. So we have a lot to kind of go off here in terms of the question. It was a very modest introduction. So we'll kind of start from the roots of your running career and kind of your sport and background in general. So obviously I know you're still a GAR man on top of everything, with the running and how successful you have been up until that point. So do you want to just give us, a breakdown of when you started and running and Gaelic and kind of your just sport and life in general?
Yeah, I'm sure I started running when I was 8 or 9. I would have been 8, probably 8. I started in Castlecomer Athletic Club because I'm from Comer, and my mum did a bit of coaching there then when I was younger too. She did a few younger ages. I played hurling, soccer, played basketball as well when I was younger. I played basketball until maybe second year, then played soccer till TY or fifth year maybe. Played hurling, I still supposed to kind of play hurling. Last match I played was in September, but for the last few months then I kind of focused on the run, wouldn't want to risk getting injured in matches if you get me. So I just kind of focused on the run for the last while.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that I was wondering about in terms of, obviously, a few weeks back you were running for Ireland in the European Championships, so a lot has to be dedicated to running. So up until this point, how have you kind of been balancing that out between, Gaelic and running?
Well, when I was younger, I kind of kind of a mixture of all the sports. Like I remember I used to go to soccer training at like 5:30 to 6:30 on Tuesday, and then I'd go up to run from 6:30 to 7:30. But kind of I think that's good kind of until you're a bit older, just kind of play all the sports because it kind of runs a bit of a lonelier sport than the rest of them. It's kind of keeping the team sports. And sure then the last couple of years of the hurling I probably didn't train as much anymore because I could kind of clash with running, but I still try and get to all the matches and play the matches up until kind of this year with like trying to do well and stuff. I ended up missing most of the under-19 matches. I only got down to one, couldn't play because it was before the All-Irelands, kind of in between Leinsters and All-Irelands, so I couldn't play that. And then the county final was on the same day as All-Ireland, so picking All-Ireland, so yeah, that's about it as far as that goes.
Yeah, definitely. At a young age, as you mentioned, it's definitely important to kind of dip your toes in all the sports which have different aspects, like team sports, and then running, obviously, which you stuck to till this day. So from, you started running at quite a young age, said there 8 or 9. Was there, moments in your earlier, you could say, career as such where you knew you were quite talented, or was it just, later on where you start becoming good?
Not really. I always liked it, but when I was younger, I probably wasn't great. Like when I, like under 11s, when like you'd start doing Leinsters and All Irelands, I was back a good bit. Like I was well below 100 in All Ireland. Like, until kind of the last couple of years, I got a bit better. Which I kind of, if you kind of stick through it, I know when you're younger, if you're doing well, you might kind of try to stick with it more. But I think if you kind of stick it out, kind of it'll work out in the end if you put enough work into it and that.
Yeah, definitely so. And then, as the years went on, you start, getting up the ranks, getting up the places in races such. So, and as you mentioned previously, you got the opportunity to represent Ireland in the European Championships. So, in terms of representing Ireland, when did you get that first opportunity?
That was my first opportunity to represent Ireland is in Eurocross. It would have been an aim this year, like to try and make Eurocross, and I came sixth then in the All Ireland in Santry, and I was originally reserved because they had the top 5, so it was Keane was fifth, Keane McPhillips was fifth, and Abdel was brought home from America. So that was the sixth, but then Keane got injured. So I was brought in then as the first reserve on it. So, yeah.
Deadly. So we'll definitely get into kind of the European cross stuff. But as you mentioned, that is seriously, cool, and it quite unexpected in the sense where, people that are representing Ireland on the European level, it's quite rare that that's their actual first time representing Ireland. So that is definitely quite an achievement. But obviously now at the moment you're studying PE and maths in DCU. Kind of talk about that in a sense where, in terms of scholarships, was that ever on the cards for you?
I'm not on a scholarship at the moment. Hopefully next year I can get one. But yeah, PE and maths it's a good course. The PE side of it is handy enough. Like we did athletics for the first semester, so you're kind of doing long jump, triple jump, or discus, shot put. Like when I was younger, like I would have done all the field events just like in counties and stuff, just for fun, and so like you'd know about them already. So when you're doing for the course, it's a nice thing to do. The maths is a bit harder, but it kind of comes with the PE, so kind of stick it out.
Definitely. And in terms of going over to America, was that ever something that crossed your mind for athletics?
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. Eventually, I'm happy in DCU. I like it. Maybe a year or two when I'm older, I might think about it more. But yeah, when I was younger, I wouldn't really have thought I would have been good enough to get scholarships, or whatever. But kind of improve and try and think about it more.
Definitely. And then in terms of actually running in DCU, you mentioned there that, now representing Ireland this year, you fingers crossed you have the opportunity to pick up a scholarship next year. But then in terms of running at the moment for DCU, what is that like? Obviously you have your club, you do your bit yourself. Is it kind of, you pretty much just represent them on race day, or do you actually do bits of training with them?
I train with DCU. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays we have sessions in DCU. Joe Ryan is the coach in DCU. He's over the sessions, and then Paul Byrne is the head of athletics. They're really helpful. And sessions like Neve and Noel, my coaches, kind of they'd coach me, so I do their sessions, but sessions aren't too different most times, so I can kind of do the sessions with the lads in DCU handy enough. So yeah, that's good. I think it's a good college in Ireland if you want to do well in the run. It's a nice place to do it.
Yeah, so that's fingers crossed plan. We're going to be going to next year, so definitely looking forward to that. But now we'll kind of move on to the track a little bit. We've been kind of poking at the cross country stuff there for a little bit, and I know yourself, you're a bit of a steeplechase man, so that isn't something that you jump into straight away when you get into legs. So do you want to just kind of tell us a little bit about how you got into the steeplechase?
Yeah, well, how many years ago now? Maybe under 17. It was under 17. Yeah, I started doing steeple in the schools. So I went from South Leinster to Leinster's in steeplechase, and yeah, I liked it. It was good. It's hard, but it's an interesting one, to say the least. So yeah, I did South Leinster's, and then I did the Tailteann games with Leinster, and then I did the All Irelands clubs. I ended up being the only one in it that year, but that was good fun. Fall a few times now. When I first started, it wasn't too uncommon to fall in the water pit, but I'm getting a bit better at that now. Yeah, I like steeplechase. I probably hope to try and keep up doing a couple of races every now and again. But yeah, I like it.
Was there, getting into it, was there an element of, or there could be a little bit of an easy medal here, maybe an Irish vest, maybe an All-Ireland medal, because as you mentioned, there was only one, you were the only person in your race at one stage, or was it just a case that you wanted to try it out?
Yeah, a bit of both. There's not as many in it and stuff, but I used to do a bit of hurdling as well when I was younger, so I thought it'd be kind of something I might be okay at. So yeah, there's not that many in it normally. So if you're training a lot and you're just doing steeplechase, it wouldn't be great, because you're training all the time and you're doing a race with 3-4 people in it. But I think it's still a good thing to just jump into every now and again for fun, if that, and like.
And then in terms of your specific training for steeplechase, how would you implement that into your current training, and would it be, on a regular basis, or would it just kind of be near in competition?
It wouldn't be too regular. Like nearing the competition, I might just practice the hurdling. But I wouldn't really focus on it as such. I'd kind of focus on the run itself rather than the hurdling or the technique. I do a few bits like before race. I'd obviously jump the barriers or hurdles or whatever when I'm at training after doing strides or whatever, but I wouldn't focus on it too much, the actual hurdling side of it. I think.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, go on. I used to stand on them, and once you kind of get the hang of hurdling them, I think you do get a good bit faster. So once you kind of had the hang of it, I think if you can keep being able to do it, if the run's going grand, she'll be okay.
Yeah, 100%. So there is definitely two ways you can take the steeplechase. It's focus on the hurdling, and then the running will kind of come with it, or focus on the running and then the hurdling will come with it. But for you specifically, obviously you're young within your career, you want to be, adventurous in a sense. You want to be racing everything. You want to be racing 1500s, 3Ks, 5Ks, cross country. So yeah, definitely kind of just slightly implement it into your training has been working for you, which you've seen as you came second in the under-19 Steeplechase national champion. So was that quite a successful day for you? Obviously, as we mentioned, it's not the biggest event in terms of Irish running, or would you have liked to obviously come away with that national champion?
Yeah, I would have liked to have won, but it was the day actually before the 3K, and I wasn't hurdling great on the day. Sean McGinley was running really well. He won that, and yeah, it would have been nice to win, whatever, but I wasn't too upset about it because I knew I had another race the next day, so I was just trying to focus on that, forget about it.
Yeah, definitely. That was obviously the right way to go about things, and then then you became this in the under-19 3K national champion in a time of 8:36. Was become a national champion. Talk about that experience. What is that like, and especially in the 3K where it's quite a heavy event in terms of how stacked the fields are.
Yeah, no, I was really happy to win it. Like I at the start of the race, kind of we were in with the under-18, so Nick went off on his own anyway. There's no one going to stick with him, but Scott and Dylan Casey, they were kind of leading it out for a lot of the race, and I was maybe in third or fourth for a good bit of it. But I just kind of wanted to sit back, didn't want to kind of kill myself in the first bit of it. Then as the race kind of got on, I kind of moved up towards the top two. About how much? Maybe 800 to go. I kind of was up around Scott, and kind of 350 or so to go I kicked. And held on anyway. Won by 3 or 4 seconds. So yeah, it was a good day. It was my first All Ireland, well, apart from steeple, but like proper one, if you get me. So yeah, really happy with that. I was kind of a bit of a breakthrough that I was happy with.
As you mentioned previously in the episode, you picked up your first Irish vest in the European Championships, and your first nationals, and won your proper first national races, and you're winning the 3K championship. So would you say recently within your running career you've kind of had a full breakthrough?
Yeah, probably kind of since maybe the start of this year. I'd been running good enough the year before, but definitely this year especially, I've improved a lot, and it was a good year for me. Well, sorry, last year in January now, but yeah, it was a good year for the running, and yeah.
Yeah, 100%. As you mentioned, you're quite a versatile runner, from everything from the 1500 metre to the track, cross country, steeplechase, 3K. Out of all the events that you've run, which one would you say is your favourite?
That's a tough one. I like racing 15s. I'm not as good at 15s than probably a 3. I like 5Ks, but on the track they can be a bit.
Yeah.
You get a bit bored. And then cross country, sure. Cross country is cross country. Whereas to pick one, I probably would pick 3K, because it's kind of a mix of both. Like, it's long enough, but it's also short enough where it kind of keeps you occupied for the whole thing. You wouldn't be losing concentration or anything in a 3K. You kind of have to stay tuned in the whole way.
Grand. So yeah, that's good to know. And obviously with a time of 8:36, it's nothing to. It's definitely something to be proud of, and then coming away with the national title. So would that as well kind of have something to link in with you picking it as your favourite, kind of that feeling becoming national champion?
Yeah, definitely kind of the one I've had the most success at. So hopefully I can keep doing well in 3Ks, and probably will stay doing other. Well, I will stay doing other distances, but that's definitely one I'd like to keep doing and keep racing.
Kind of now slightly moving back into the cross-country realm of things, you could say. Another breakthrough season, as you keep touching on. you know, it started off, you know, winning the Leinster Junior under-19 cross country. So kind of setting off your season like that in terms of, you know, big races for the cross country season. Do you feel like that really sets you up then for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I ran the autumn open and hadn't ran great, so it was good kind of going into Leinster's to win it and kind of get that feeling that yeah, I'm running well. Like it was a good race, and Joe Byrne went off fairly hard, and he was kind of leading by a good bit, and kind of towards the last lap I kind of threw him back in and ended up winning. So after that, kind of you're confident going into All Irelands after winning Leinster is kind of the next step up.
Definitely. And then
after that,
finishing sixth in your in the All Irelands, was this your first proper cross country All Irelands, or did you have any before this?
I've ran All Ireland since kind of under 11. I've ran most of them, mostly through county teams. Couple like I was sixth in Leinster the last time it was on, so I would have ran in that as well. But I've ran in most of them the whole way up, but it's by far the highest I've ever came. I think before this year in All Irelands, the highest I've ever came up is 21st. So to be sixth with another year to go, it was good.
Finishing sixth, knowing that you're just outside of that European, you know, automatic selection, and then being a reserve, was that kind of bittersweet, or were you confident? Were you just kind of happy in your race overall?
I was happy with the race, but obviously I was fairly disappointed not to make it originally. Um, yeah, it's kind of six on the team and you come sixth, and then you're still not on it is that's hard to take. But being the kind of the year that was in it with COVID and all that, kind of you'd always be hoping that as a reserve that you still might get the chance to run. So yeah, I was delighted when it actually got the call to say we'll be on it.
Talking about that specifically, when you got that call to say that you know, you will be on the team, what was that moment like for you?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was actually the night before the under-19 All Ireland. I was planning on running that in Gorn, but I wasn't too annoyed that I wasn't running that when I got the phone call the night before. I'd be running again the weekend after. I think it was well worth the sacrifice of not running that.
And then obviously picking up then your first Irish kit. Obviously that's a huge part in why a lot of people want to represent Ireland. So when you got that kit, was that just kind of, it then started to become a reality?
Yeah, that was a good moment, getting the kit and trying it on, see what fits, what doesn't fit. Yeah, it's kind of, it sinks in then that yeah, you will be running whatever. Yeah, so remember that for the rest of my life.
Did you go down to the course then with the team on the Saturday, the day before the race?
Yeah, we went up to Dublin on it was the Friday evening, and we stayed there Friday night in the hotel, and then Saturday we went to the course. The day before race I don't run. I normally do my run on the Friday if it's on a Sunday, and I rest the Saturday. So a good few people ran the course. I just walked it. It was nice to it was in Abbottstown, so obviously knew the course, but it looks so much different from the course side of it when you're inside and there's all the barriers and that. So walking the course, you'd know obviously the same exact course, but just feels so much different when all the barriers and stuff are up. So yeah, it was kind of definitely sinks in then as well.
Yeah,
that you are going.
That's the thing that I was going to mention, is the fact that when you get there, obviously being your first Europeans, being or not even your first Europeans, your first Irish vest, being in a home ground, and then the atmosphere. I was there on the Saturday as well. The atmosphere was just, it didn't feel tense. It felt good. How were you feeling personally on that Saturday when you got to the course and you saw all the athletes, you saw the barriers up? It looked intense. But how were you feeling personally?
I was feeling good. I was just excited to run. I wasn't as nervous as I thought I probably would be the day before. I kind of just walking around, just seeing all the different athletes that you normally be watching on TV and they're running by you is it's a nice thing to see. And yeah, it's just excited. Really wasn't too
And
bad.
then compared to then on the day when you got there, was there obviously a bit more nerves, a bit more tension in the air?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot more nerves the morning of it. Um, Getting there, it was unusual because like normally you go to a race, you walk the course, you go to the club tent, put your stuff in, whereas on the day you're kind of going in to that white tent that was behind the finish and behind the start, and you don't really go near the course as such, kind of warm up on the kind of the warm up area and stay in the Irish bit in the tent. It was unusual anyway, to say at least towards what you normally do at a race. So yeah, you would get a lot more nervous when you're kind of at that stage of it than you would the day
And
before.
then with the team, specifically with like the lads like Scott and Abdel, just before the race, before you left the tent, what between you was there kind of anything said? Was there like a moment of a speech or anything like that, or was it all very calm and collected before going out to the start line?
I was just kind of saying there's a good chance of getting a medal, so everyone just kind of go for it and try to do as best we can. That's
And
really it.
then for you, once that gun went off, what was your plan? Was it just to sit in the middle to stay as comfortable as possible, to sit at the back? Because obviously it was a brutal course that day, and if you went out too hard, you would be caught at the end. So what was kind of your plan of action on the day?
My plan was to kind of just sit back and try and move up, not kill myself on the first lap. Um, Personally, I didn't rate on the day, but to the experience as a whole was probably grand. Like, or it was good. Like, it was grand to not do as well as I hoped. It wasn't too bad, but at the same time, the plan was to sit back and move up, but it didn't really work out as well as it was planned. But yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough course to do that in the sense where, people will drop back, but then, them hills and that mud by the old road was taking it out with you just as much, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely that that bit. The old road isn't nice, especially when you're coming around on the fourth time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't great now, but uh it's always a hard course. Like you'd expected going into the race, like it's not going to be any easier just because Europeans and there's a crowd there cheering you on. It's not going to make it much easier. Still going to have to do it. Um, but yeah.
But then coming into that home straight, for the finish, or even every time you came past, the finish or the Irish crowd, was there any of that sense where they really drove you on? Because I remember the part where with Abdel coming into the final lap, you could really feel that the crowd was getting to him. Was that the same for you, or did the pain
Yeah,
kind of take over?
I know you'd still know like the amount of people there, and there's so many Irish. Like to be people like your names, like your surnames on the front of the singlet, so like people will be saying your name, and like it's a nice experience to have, and like to see people that you know, then like your parents, coaches, whatever there. It does help. I think if it wasn't in Ireland, it'd be a lot harder for the Irish, but since it was there, it was great really to have so many people cheering just us on.
100%. And then the success you end up coming away with. Obviously, before we go into that, for you personally, finishing was 77th. Um, is that right? 77th. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you crossing the line, obviously crossing the line at the end of any race is kind of a weight off your shoulders with all the preparation and the nerves and the pain that you go through during the race. But then before realizing you got the team medal and coming second, what were them few moments for you personally reflecting on your finish?
On the finish, just glad it's over really. Same as every race, just kind of you're dying, like, yeah, like, when you finish, you kind of, I'm not really sure what I was thinking, but once we heard that we were getting second, it was just happiness. Like, it wasn't, kind of forget how bad or good you ran. It's kind of the fact that the team got the medal is kind of all that mattered, really.
100%. Kind of, with your first Irish vest getting a second place team medal in European Championships, that must have been insane.
Yeah, like, as is the first one to get a medal is like, it's just an extra bonus. Like, it was good enough to get the first thing. I was like delighted to be on the Irish team, but to get a medal as well, just something to have like as an extra thing. It was great, really, and the lads ran like great to do that, and yeah, it's a good run.
And then afterwards, you obviously stuck around then for the rest of the day, for the rest of the races.
Yeah, no, like, stick around watching all the other races, watching the under-23s do so well as well, and then the women and the mixed relays, just watching all the races is a great experience, and like people coming over to you, want to see the medals, whatever. It's just, it was unusual, but it was really good.
Feel like a bit of celebrity on the day.
Yeah, it was, you'd nearly be covering up the Irish gear.
Kind of putting the shades and a hat on to disguise yourself. But and then afterwards, when you left the arena and the course, was there, obviously with COVID restrictions and all, but did you get kind of a chance after to, as a team, celebrate a little bit?
Yeah, it was good. Like, after, sorry, after the races, we went back to the hotel. We could get dinner if we wanted. There was a team meeting, and then after, some people stayed, some people went home. I stayed, and it was good. Like, everyone there was delighted with how Ireland did so well, and it was a good experience to be with the Irish team and even after.
Definitely, yeah. And then this cross country season for you is just, obviously you had a really great, 1 or 2 years of the track season so far, as you mentioned, becoming the 3K national champion. But for you, in terms of your overall running and your overall confidence, has this been a serious breakthrough season?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'd be more confident going into this season after doing well in the cross country. Like, I still have another. This year I'm still junior again, so like, I hope to try and make it again this year. And kind of I'll be more confident this year going for it that I've made it already last year than say if I hadn't made it. So yeah, just keep the confidence up and try and do well again this year.
Definitely. And then kind of it's obviously now quite a shift in training, in the sense, how will that shift for you look like in your training? Obviously, you don't need specific mileage and different things that you and your coaches do be looking into to get you as fit as possible, but just that transition from cross country to the track or even indoor track, will it be kind of a bit lower mileage, more intensity stuff, especially with the kind of races you do between the 15 and the 3K? Kind of, what is that change going to look like for you?
I'll probably stay. I'll stay doing cross country for another while, I think. And then I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll be doing many indoors, but definitely by the time the track comes around, I'll be back. Like, I haven't trained on a track in a good while now. Most of my cross country training is on grass. So in DCU we train on the hurling pitches at the St. Clair's, and then on a Saturday I go home to Kilkenny and KCH we train the Castle Park. So that's grass as well. So I'll definitely be looking forward to training on the track more once that season kind of comes in. It's a nice change, kind of, as soon as you start training on the track. It's kind of, you're getting ready for them sort of races rather than the heavy legs when you're running on grass trying to run fast.
Yeah, and obviously previously, you got the 3K, champion. You became 3K champion. You were third in 1500 meters. You were second in the under-19 steeplechase. So goals for this track season specifically, obviously, would it be to retain the 3K title and furthermore?
Yeah, just try and compete and be able to be up there in the junior races would kind of be the aim, since like I'm not under 19 anymore, or like any juveniles. I'm junior this year, so just try and do as best as I can in them races and try and pick up a few medals throughout the year. Be kind of the aim, in that
And
sense.
then obviously sneak a little first Irish track fest in there maybe.
Yeah, not sure. Hopefully, anyway, see how it goes.
Definitely, no. We'll be looking forward to that. And then just say if everything is to go perfect for either near future or further ahead. What is the main goal for you?
Just keep improving. Really, like I want like every race to try and get better. Um, wouldn't really have any like massive like things that I'd be focusing on at the moment. Just try and get better every day and do better every race, really.
Definitely. So obviously now going into the track season compared to your last one, your confidence is going to be stepping on that starting line. You'll still obviously respect there's still some unreal runners out there, and respect your competition and everything. But will you kind of have that feeling like, just within your own head, like, okay, I was able to represent Ireland on the European stage, 3K, under 19 national champion. Will that obviously be in your head going into this? Obviously, you're doing a bit more cross country work before that, but when you step on the line going into track, will that kind of be in the back of your head?
Yeah, definitely. Like this year, like maybe last year, I wouldn't have been as confident going into the race. Like say the All Ireland, I mightn't have thought that I would have done as well as I would have. But then this year, I'll know that I can like put it up to lads who are running fast times and trying to run fast times too. So yeah, I'll definitely be a lot more confident going into races.
Definitely. And for DCU specifically, did you run in the relays this year?
Yeah, I ran in the relays. I was on the second team that came third. I did the first mile for that team.
And obviously you said the second team there, and with people in DCU in terms of running like Andrew Cosker, and you had Brian Fay was there before he went over to Washington. Has that really, the depth and the quality in terms of running in DCU, do you think that has drove on your running significantly?
Yeah, definitely. Like you'd see people who are representing DCU who've also represented Ireland at high levels, and like you see that you can do that too if you just keep putting in the work. So yeah, it's definitely a help.
100%. So obviously going into this track season, we'll definitely be keeping an eye out on you now after the big name that you've made for yourself during this cross country season. Obviously in the European Championships, and as well obviously you're 3K national champion, so there's definitely a target on your head for a lot of people going into this track season. But no, we'll definitely be behind you and cheering on, and I do really appreciate you coming onto the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Killian. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
And for everyone watching and listening at home, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.